Welcome everybody to the fifth and final section of this series where I've been walking you through building a full stack application from the ground up using Remix, Tailwind CSS, Prisma, and MongoDB. In the last video, we ended up finishing our application. It's completely built and it's ready to be deployed to our users. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Before we can continue on with deploying this application, you'll need to make sure your code's available in a repository on GitHub. Now, if you don't have a GitHub account already, it's easy to make one. Just go to github.com and up in the top right corner, there's going to be a sign up button. So yeah, go ahead and do that if you don't have one already, and then walk through the steps to get your code up in a repository there, and then come back to this video. Once you have that available, we're going to head over to Vercel.com. And again, a similar situation. If you don't already have an account with Vercel, feel free to create one and then come back to the video. I already have an account, so we're going to end up here. Once you get here, you're going to want to hit New Project, and you get a couple different buttons. I like this one better, so I'm picking that one. On this page, I've already used Vercel before, so I've connected my GitHub account to it, and now I can see my projects here. But if you haven't done that already, right here you can connect your GitHub account and then it will populate with your projects. But the one that I want to deploy is this Kudos one. So I'll hit import. And this one, I will make sure this is set to Remix actually. So I've set the framework preset to that, and that'll just set up a couple of the build options and the script options that it's going to run during the CI/CD piece that Vercel handles for us. The only other thing that I'm going to do here is set up the environment variables. And what these are going to be is all of the variables we have in our .env. So I'll just copy those over one by one. There is an easier way to do this part using the Vercel CLI. But for now, since we're already in this UI, I'll go ahead and just do them here. Cool, so I've got all of those environment variables added, and now I can hit this deploy button here. And this is going to queue our deployment, and what it's doing right now is it's running the build steps, and a lot of this is grabbed from the remix preset that we picked, so it knows how to build the project properly. And once it does that, it's going to run some checks, and it will assign a domain name to our project once it's deployed, and that'll be managed by Vercel. And so I'll go ahead and pause the video now, and once this finishes doing its thing, I'll start it back up and we'll walk through what happened. So once that finishes up, you get this nice success page, and I don't know if it'll do this when I refresh. Ah, yes, so you get this nice confetti. Congratulations, you've deployed your application. This is a site that Vercel is hosting for us, and they give you a URL to hit it with, and they give you a bunch of nice little features for managing the website and give you abilities to change some of the scale and do some logging. So we can manage all of that at the dashboard. In the dashboard, we have view logs where we can view the build that happened, all of the checks that took place. We didn't have any of those, but if we did have like maybe some testing that we wanted to do there, it would run those here. And then it assigned a couple of different domains to it. If we go into the functions, I believe it is. Yes, we could see real-time logs. If we were doing any sort of logging in our application, that would show up here. And we could see the source code that was deployed. If we head back over to the overview tab though, we're going to get this nice visit button, and let's go ahead and pop that open. This will take us to our deployed application, and we'll be able to sign up or register, and I'm going to attempt that here. I'll sign into my account. And we're going to see this nasty error here, and the reason for this is because we have not yet opened up our MongoDB to connections from IP addresses other than our development machine. So let's actually go to MongoDB and fix that. If you go to your MongoDB account and click on Network Access, you're going to get to this page, and here you'll have an Add IP Address option. If you go on here, you'll see this Allow Access from Anywhere. Click that guy. and hit confirm. And you may be a little worried about this, allowing access from any possible IP address. And there's actually not a whole lot to worry about here as long as you are building your application in a safe way and you have a secure password. Opening up your Mongo database to connections from anywhere is actually a common practice with serverless, because as your application scales up, more and more instances of it are generated, and each of those will have an automatically generated IP address. So there's not really a way to keep track of all of the IP addresses connecting to your database. So in a serverless case, it makes more sense to open it up to any IP address. Once those changes have finished applying, you can head back over to your application, and I'll close this guy out and just reopen it. And then we should be able to log in successfully this time. So let's log in here. And there we go. So we're connected to our database and everything appears to be working fine. We've successfully deployed our application using Vercel, and now your users can hop into your website and begin sending kudos to the other users. Thank you everybody so much for following along with me in this 5-part series where we built this entire application from the ground up. Just to recap sort of what we covered in this series, we got to see how Remix and Prisma work really well together to implement end-to-end type safety in your applications. We also got to see how Tailwind CSS makes styling really easy and allows you the flexibility to really customize your application however you want it. Finally, we got to see how Prisma and MongoDB work really nicely together, along with the recent release and all of the added new features to our MongoDB connector. You can now use embedded documents, you can provide referential integrity, and you can handle pretty much any sort of complex queries that you need to get your application running. And finally, we also looked at Vercel and how simple that makes it to deploy your application. So I hope you took a lot away from this. I hope it sort of helped you to realize how simple it can be to get an application running nowadays. A lot of these tools make things really easy for you, and it's just a joy to be able to work in the time we do as developers. So thank you so much for following along again, and I will see you next time.